Hello everyone, my name's Ritu Dand. I'm the Springer Nature Chief Scientific Officer, and this month's spotlight is on editorial best practice to build a strong editorial board. And what you will hear today are learnings from some of our most successful editor-in-chiefs, as well as what publishers that manage these journals have told us on how to build a successful team, which enhances journal performance, allows you to attract high quality submissions, and publish the best papers. So without further ado, I shall start. Springer Nature journals should seek to represent their community. If you represent your community, you will be publishing content of interest to them, and you will attract the attention of authors who will want to submit. And the second point that we want to make, and which you will hear a lot of in this talk, are that teams of manuscript handling editors that are empowered to make decisions on manuscripts themselves lead to increased journal success. So why would that be? Manuscript handling editors that are engaged will be more invested in the journal and less likely to act as journal advocates. And because of this, they will use their own networks to attract high quality submissions to the journal from the global diversity of researchers across the breadth of their field. And a journal that reflects the thinking of a team of these editorial experts will be more representative of the many scientific interests of a diverse and global audience. And in turn, this type of journal will engage a broader readership and potential authors, and thus organically receives a higher number of submissions. And finally, a successful journal continues to evolve, recruit more editors, and engage a changing research community. So now the next few slides are going to talk you through why a growing team is better for your journal. And let's start with how editorial careers are actually very similar to the way a researcher's fields progress. We're going to be highlighting that teams drive high quality submissions, good author service, and which ultimately will enhance the journal impacts. So the same way when a researcher gets their PhD and graduates to becoming a postdoc, they're learning their craft, a manuscript handling editor is also making decisions, learning to edit. They are a subject expert and champion, and they will be a journal advocate. And then when a researcher decides they want to become a lab head, they start to recruit a team so that they can do more research. And in the same way, an editor-in-chief creates a vision for the journal and builds and trains a team and then shares knowledge. And then back to research. As the lab grows, they attract more grants, the lab head recruits more people. Similarly, with journals, a successful community journal will grow, the editor-in-chief will recruit more editors, they will work with their senior editors to deploy the vision and ensure rigor in the research that's published. They are able to attract the best global submissions, and they give the highest level of author service. So why should a small journal receiving few submissions be supported by a team? if you have a team of dedicated global manuscript handling editors, they will help you to attract high quality papers to the journals using their own networks. And even a small journal needs to attract submissions, raise their visibility. And a team allows you to do that faster than an EIC that works alone. And it will also allow a high level of author service. If the EIC is travelling, on holiday, unwell, we want to be sure that authors are still getting fast decisions, because that is one of the most important things for an author, that they receive decisions very quickly. And we also want the journal to represent the community, and a team of subdisciplinary experts will have a deeper understanding of that area and will better represent their community. And we know that engaged editors that are empowered to make decisions will also champion the journal and get it more recognition. And as the journal grows, the EIC needs to be supported by the senior editors, because as the workload increases, the EIC will need to recruit more editors, and they can promote their senior editors that have previously been trained by the EIC and who share the same vision to support them to run the journal. And these senior editors can manage small numbers of manuscript handling editors. You can split the journal into subdisciplinary sections where senior editors allocate manuscripts and ensure oversight and rigour in review, or an EIC may choose to use their senior, more experienced editors in a different way to help them run the journal. The EIC continues to ensure the journal vision is upheld and the reputation of the journal continues to grow. They can either manage the senior editors, or they can run a sub-team themselves. Or if the workload allows, they may be able to maintain oversight on the accepted manuscripts. We have seen that globally diverse editorial teams engage a broader readership. So a geographically diverse editor base will be able to promote the journal on an international landscape and thus give it a greater level of recognition. They in turn, the research that will be published will reflect the interests and decisions of a diverse cross-section of editors, and this will reflect the broader interests of your community and will engage more editors. And both of these factors will lead to the journal attracting a wider selection of higher quality submissions from international centres of excellence. So how do successful journals with larger editorial teams attract more submissions? Well, they have committed advocates that can solicit content through their own networks. And the way that this can happen is they attend conferences and meetings all around the world. They can solicit content from poster sessions or local institute talks. They can also set up RSS feeds on preprint servers, which can send alerts on potential papers of interest, and they can use their own social media networks to increase the visibility of the content that the journal is publishing, as well as the journal itself, by posting the papers that they are accepting to their social networks. And most importantly, and perhaps very obviously, authors hold the key to a journal's success. And as a successful journal needs to consider how they are going to engage the widest number of potential authors, because each author is faced with hundreds of journals that they could submit their latest research to. Authors look to see if the journal has published research in their domain as a first step, and if they have, the next thing they look at is at the journal's editorial board to see if there is an editor with similar research interests to them, because this will be the person that is likely to champion their paper. Indeed, on our website, one of the top 10 search terms is Journal X's editorial board. And on the right-hand side, you can see a journal homepage that's promoting their editors with the expertise of the editors clearly defined and links to their research websites as well as their ORCID profiles to facilitate authors obtaining this information. And a journal with a team of editors that represents the diversity in the community as well as the broader research undertaken will attract more submissions from these authors. And so now, if you deploy all of these things, will it lead to success? And we wanted to share a case study with you, which is a success story too. Immunological research saw an increase in submissions, impact factor, and author service in 2019 after they underwent an editorial board expansion. The journal was originally managed by an editor-in-chief who was supported by a managing editor. In 2019, the journal added 18 new manuscript handling editors to the team, and you can see in the graphs, in the top graph on the left-hand side, the orange arrow depicts when the journal reorganization happened. They received more higher quality submissions. Below, you can see the turnaround times of decision making vastly improved, went down to almost half after the added capacity to the team, and that's very important for authors who it will get round by word of mouth if the journal is slow. And in turn, they also saw an increase in impact factor. So how do you go by recruiting that larger team? So a journal should consider recruitment needs annually to boost high quality submissions. And it's also very important that we simultaneously remove inactive editors from the board. So what are the factors that an EIC should look for before considering recruitment? Firstly, look at the journal decision speeds. Slow decision speeds are not attractive to authors, and each community will have their own definition of what constitutes a slow decision. I'm just giving you an example here of the natural sciences, where for anything over 45 days after review would be considered slow. Adding new editors will lower the workloads and accelerate peer review. Secondly, look at the editor workloads. So if the manuscript handling editor workloads are higher, then peer review will be less effective. We need to ensure that manuscript handling editor workloads are balanced against their day jobs. They have research careers, and we would consider about 15 manuscripts per year to be a manageable workload to ensure papers can be sent for review, and the existing files that are already in review can be effectively processed. As community journals, editors should have the capacity to review and obtain feedback on about 60 to 70% of submissions. And thirdly, we should be looking for growing and emerging subdisciplines and consider recruiting editors with expertise in research disciplines that are new and growing to ensure that we can attract more submissions. And your publisher can support you to identify these areas. And where do you find candidate manuscript handling editors? Well, the first place to look at is on your board. Most journals have many editors that either handle very few manuscripts or no manuscripts. And we know from surveys that many of these editors would like to be more involved and engaged with the journal. So many of these editors will want to handle more manuscripts. The second place to look is to ask every editor on the team to make one firm recommendation, and then you can review and invite them to join. Engaging your editorial colleagues will give you wider reach and more success in recruiting. Thirdly, you can look at your reviewers. These are also researchers that are already engaged with the journal. They have an understanding of what the journal is published and thus will be more likely to be interested if invited. And fourthly, you can look at the authors that are submitting to your journal, because these people already are engaging with the journal and will be more interested in joining the board. And finally, you can also consider authors that are submitting to similar journals elsewhere. A general criteria to consider is to focus on early career researchers and think diversely. While it's tempting to consider senior researchers, they are more busy and less likely to join. Early career researchers are motivated to learn about how the peer review process works. They have more time to represent and contribute to their community, and they're interested in learning more about the editorial career. And if you consider researchers that have published 10 to 15 research papers and have an H index of about 10, this will be an early career researcher that has sufficient knowledge of the field and peer review process to become an editor. And always search the web, databases such as Retraction Watch, to ensure there are no misconduct allegations, and Springer Nature can also check against our own internal database. And it's very important that editor-in-chiefs appreciate that we will support you with onboarding and training of these new editors. So once editor-in-chiefs have identified candidate editors, we can share template letters which outline our expectation, policies, benefits to the editors for you to invite your editors. We will also set up the candidates on the peer review platform and add them to the journal homepage. We will send a welcome letter which contains the links to the editorial resources they may wish to use, as well as the training on handling manuscripts. Once the editors are on our system, they will start to receive our monthly newsletter, which contains lots of information on events and what's happening at Springer Nature and all the other training that will become available to them. And editors can continue to sign up for more advanced training. And now I want to leave you with Dr. Chris Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Cell and Bioscience, who undertook a reorganization of his editorial board and tripled the size and saw much journal success. So over to Dr. Chris Lau.
The initial editorial structure consists of an editor-in-chief and 8 editors and a 40-member editorial board. I'm one of the founding editors, and we all serve on a voluntary basis without any financial compensation. Throughout the years, the quality of papers was relatively stable, achieving an impact factor of 3 for the first year in 2012, and fluctuated around the same number throughout the years until 2019, at which time it jumped gradually to 9.5 in 2021, indicating that the journal has grown substantially and the quality of publications have improved through the years. In parallel to the increase in the impact factor, the annual number of submissions also increased rapidly to over 1,300 in 2021. As of November 1st, there are 1,646 submissions and likely reaching 2,000 for this year. First, we increased the number of editors, editorial board members, and reviewers in all disciplines, and covering some area that we lack expertise in. Second, we hope to achieve some gender balance with more female colleagues and diversity, that is to include qualified SCBA members and non-members from all backgrounds. Third, we like to streamline the manuscript classification to eliminate area with only a few submissions. Fourth, we appoint new associate editor-in-chiefs who serve as section editors in charge of selected classification of the respective expertise area. Fifth, we establish an editorial committee consisting of the editor-in-chief and the associate editor-in-chiefs, and the committee will serve as the governing body for the journal. Lastly, we will recruit a professional executive editor or assistant to manage the daily chores, assisting the editor-in-chief and the associate editor-in-chiefs in administration of the journal, review process, and communication with the editorial board, reviewers, and authors. The pipeline for the review process now looks like this.
As you can see, in Chris Lau's own words, how successful it has been to recruit more editors to his journal, to attract high quality submissions. And with that, I shall say thank you for your time.